Good morning and welcome to Complex PTSD TV live from beautiful Brisbane, Australia. How are you this morning? My name's Linda. I'm your certified trauma recovery coach and welcome. It's great to have you join in, whether you're here live for the live streaming group, which we all get in and say g'day, or you're here for the replay, hashtag replay. It's great to have you join us. And look, remember to like and share, subscribe, etc. because all of this information's new. And it's only 5 or 6 years ago that we began to have information for complex PTSD. And the education is vital to our recovery, because without the education, we can't understand what's happening for us internally. We can't wrap our mind around it. And then there can be no change. So we're going to like, share and subscribe and help out other people who don't have answers yet. And believe me, there's a lot of people that don't understand that we can be proactive. So Friday, we're going to do a really lovely show this morning, and we're going to look at 12 areas of self-sabotage. Now, the one thing I want you to do for you this morning is, as I go through the list, you're only allowed to pick one thing to work on. And whether you take that one thing and work on it with your trauma coach, whether you work on it with your therapist and mentor, just one thing, because remember, we're just empowering one step at a time. It's very important not to overwhelm, because then the brain gets triggered. And if the brain gets triggered, then we go into one of our triggered responses: fight, flight, fawn or freeze. And we don't want to continually do that. And some of us have actually been continually triggered for a long time because the trigger's broken. So just one step at a time creates a very big difference in our day-to-day life. So with 12 areas of self-sabotage, and you're only allowed to pick one, let's go. So inflexible thinking, black and white thinking. Now, when I first read about this in relation to complex PTSD, I went, I don't have inflexible thinking. And then I went, oh, heck, I better think about this a bit more. If it says it's a thing with complex PTSD, then I really need to think about it. And I just went, you know what? I can understand the inflexible thinking and what they're saying, because when it did come to other people, I had very flexible thinking. But what I had to learn for me is that I needed to have flexible thinking for me and not be so hard on myself. Good morning, Laura. So if you're being hard on yourself, look at it as a possible symptom of complex PTSD, and it's time to begin to turn it around. Now, we can have a very neglectful way of, well, we neglect our physical body. So think of the ways that it's possible to neglect your physical body. We miss meals or forget to have meals regularly. We can forget to shower. We can forget to, even make our bed, do washing, and all that. And they're all symptoms of part where we neglect our physical body, but we need to be willing to work to take one more step. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I put together a booklet for us, which is in the free resource library, because I realised that I was struggling with dissociation and getting daily things done, because if they're boring, and it's part of our neurological wiring, this is not an excuse for any of us. If something is perceived as boring, it's easy for us to forget it because of, and I won't go into all of it now, because of the wiring that happened in our younger years. Now, so I do this just about religiously every day. I make sure I go through my list and see what I've got to remember to do. Remember, it's not a to-do list, it's a to-remember list, which takes all the pressure off us. Okay, number 3, using food as an emotional soother. Now, I want to give you hope in this area. I've developed my internal awareness so much now that I'm aware if I use food as an emotional soother. I actually was able to laugh about it last week. And I went, okay, that's what I'm doing. What is it that I need to address? What is it I need to put structure and strategy around? And one of the vital questions for me was, and it just went straight out of my head, what do I need to learn to do to self-soothe in this area? Okay, so it's recognizing that the food is providing a bit of soothing, but in order to have a long-term solution, what do I need to learn to do to self-soothe in this particular area or around this particular issue that's, sending me just automatically, unconsciously thinking, just going grabbing some food. Number 4, addiction. Now, addiction these days can be social media, it can be food, it can be alcohol and other drugs. It can be lots of different things. And so you want to pick whatever your addiction is, you want to start working on it and taking one step to not have to keep going down the same road. So you want to do your internal work. Look at the course, My Authentic Self, okay, in order that you can begin to unpack the different layers. I should have an onion when I talk about this course, because it's like giving us the empowerment to recognize our different layers and how we took them on. And that is vital with complex PTSD. The course must be written so that it's different for everybody. Okay. Number 5, irritability and dishonesty. So if you get irritable, if people drive you nuts, okay, think about that. I'm learning how to manage my irritability. And what I'm finding is with the irritability is that it's my way of saying I don't have language and sometimes I don't know how to manage this solution. So now I know I need to go and I'm irritated. So I need to go and sit down and talk with someone and work through and learn how to negotiate and manage through different human interactions and situations. And I think for me too, it's this whole area of understanding that these are things that we just didn't learn. Okay, we didn't learn them in our families. We didn't learn them throughout life. And we didn't know, so we do get irritable. And the other side of that can be dishonesty. And I don't mean dishonesty as in deceiving other people. I mean deceiving ourselves that everything's going to be okay, when really we need to go and address issues instead of shoving them down and avoiding them. And I realised I did this at one stage, I think last year. And I went, oh my goodness, I'm understanding now that I need to be really honest with myself, that I feel uncomfortable in this situation, or I don't know what to do in this situation. And even though sometimes my friends look at me like, how do you not know this? I don't worry about it, because I know that it's better for me to speak up and say, look, I really don't know what to do in this situation. Can you give me some ideas? All right. And people don't understand that we've just never learnt this stuff. So it's better to be honest with ourselves internally than keep fighting, having the same emotional responses and getting nowhere. Okay. Employment challenges. So if you've got the same job with the same issues, or you've changed jobs and you've got the same issues and you're blaming others, and there can be lots of different issues around employment issues. The one thing we need to do is take a step back, take a deep breath and say, look, I'm responsible, I can change these things, and I just need to work through what's my one next step. Okay. Now, this can be a big one, and it can be one that we actually have hidden from ourselves just because we've been trying to survive. All right. So if you're looking at blaming others for everything going wrong or not being good or being unwell and so much more, it can cause bitterness, cynicism, anger, hatred. So we want to look at blame, and we want to look at where we've been hurt. We want to look at healing that pain, and then we want to look at turning around the thoughts and emotions that keep driving one of those things. So for me, I have to remember, if I start getting cynical, then I have to look at, okay, am I trying to avoid pain in an area of my life? But now what I do is I go back in and I Google the opposite of being cynical, and I change my thoughts around to the opposite. And I can't remember what it is because I haven't done it for a while. But if I do, I know that I can be cynical because cynicism was actually something that was prevalent in my family. So we want to be able to say, yes, this is really happening for me, and I want to change it up because I don't want to be this way. Okay? Good morning, Eleanor. Okay, now we have to ask ourselves, do we have a repeated attraction to traumatized people? And we have to be willing to do our internal work to turn it around. Now, one of the things that I've learned over the years is that traumatized people can feel like, oh, this is easy, I can manage this relationship because it just feels like home. So now I know if it feels like home, I have to sit back and ask, what's the next 5 steps if I continue in a relationship with this person? Whether it's friendship or a deeper relationship, it doesn't matter. It's still the same question. What can I see happening in the next 5 steps after this? So be very, very aware. Another area of self-sabotage is unfulfilling relationships. Unfulfilling doesn't mean we don't face hard times. Unfulfilling means that there's 2 people in the relationship, but only one person's doing the work. All right. Number 10, imagination. Are you living life off in your imagination? Dissociation. Okay. Are you naive? Are you not in touch with reality? Okay. And this is a very big thing for us, especially with dissociation. All right, we go off into our imagination, and we, without knowing it, okay, it's not a conscious thing. It's part of how we came out of our childhood. So we go, oh yeah, this is great. I can see this working. And what I've done is work really hard to recognize when I'm in my imagination, bring it back down to earth, and then say, what's my next 5 steps? What can I see happening if I go down this road? And we have to really know ourselves so that we can make healthy decisions. All right. Are you, number 11, are you still having trouble with finances? Are you spending more and not saving? And I want to promise you that is something that we all usually have to work on, because even if we're savers, which I am, we can still be connected with people who are spenders, which I used to be in the past, and it drove me insane. So I want you to think about, is your area of self-sabotage finances? And order is a big thing for us as well. And finances require order and self-discipline. So that may be something that you need to work on. All right, and are we, number 12, an area of self-sabotage, are we repeating our traumatic patterns? All right, so we need to understand the decisions we've made in the past and what is driving them neurologically, in order that we can separate the neurology from who I am, okay? And when we do that, it then makes it easier to move further into the healing and recovery, okay? Good morning, Steph. I'm good. How are you? Okay, so there's our 12 things. Now, the free printout for this, so you can take it to your trauma coach or to your therapist, is in the free resource library. Link will be down below for you. Print it out, take it, work through one thing at a time, work out what is your number one thing that you want to take your one next step with to solving, and work through it. Get some structures and strategy, okay? Make it work for you so that this time next year you're in a whole different space and place on your healing journey. Okay, thanks for joining in this week, lovelies. Remember, you are loved and you belong, and have the most gorgeous weekend, and I will be back next week. Remember, like, subscribe and share so that we can help as many people around the world with this information as possible. Bye for now.